Hey, Anna from NHCSR here. This is a little hard for me to talk about because, as much as I want community supported research to be a tool for positivity and for doing new and exciting stuff in our food systems and our information systems, making our world just a little bit better, it was born of a kind of hard luck tale. I was a research entomologist at USDA's largest agricultural research facility in the country. I was illegally terminated in February of last year. I was reinstated and then given the carrot of deferred resignation with a stick of legal termination, RIFs, reduction in force. You might have heard about this. I took the carrot and I did this in order to sock that money away and create New Hampshire community supported research to get back home to New Hampshire, to New England, and back to my life's work of serving agricultural communities. But experiences like this do teach us something about ourselves, do they not? As Ken LaValle's dad used to always say, when they put the heat to you, be like the coffee bean that makes the water more delicious and better, and don't be like the egg that gets hard or the noodle that gets soft. I don't remember how that story goes, but something like that. Everybody gets fired or laid off at some point in their life. Not everybody gets national outrage about it on your behalf. I am a very lucky person in that I have lots of support. I got lots of love. I now feel very supported and get a lot of joy and fulfillment from my network. This is an exciting project. I feel like I'm in the right place. Also, I got a unique experience in learning what it feels like to answer the question, what would you do if you didn't have to work? And I was very surprised to find out it wasn't that different from what I was doing when I was at work. I was still going out and visiting farms. I was still wanting to learn about bugs, ask questions about bugs, ask questions about how people do things. This is my passion. This is what drives me. The biggest surprise of them all, I still wanted to talk about pesticide regulation. I have been working on understanding how our current pesticide regulations drive adoption specifically of behavioral controls. So one of my specialties is in chemical ecology, or understanding how insects orient in space with the help of smells, with odors, with tastes. How can we learn about insect behavior and use it to manipulate insect populations in the field to, divert some insects, to divert some pesticide use? Something we talk about a lot is attract and kill. So rather than spraying a field that you're trying to protect with a fine mist of toxicants, draw the insects to a place where you can use them there. So we're still using pesticide, but we are reducing the impact on the larger community by taking advantage of insect behavior. And this is what motivated me and my co-authors. We are still working on a draft of a manuscript for a special issue of the Journal of Economic Entomology, and we're just calling this Commercialization of Behavioral Controls in the United States. And this is a deep dive into the most promising behavioral controls globally. It is also a summary of how pesticides are regulated, how we define what a pesticide is, because a pesticide is not what you think. These rules were written by lawyers. They were not written by biologists or toxicologists. The definition of a pesticide is based on intent. The Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, works with state and tribal authorities to carry out rules that are laid out in FIFRA. This is a law. It's Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act. So according to this law, a pesticide is defined as any substance or mixture of substances intended for preventing, destroying, repelling, or mitigating any pest, right? So the easiest way to do this generally is to kill that pest with some kind of toxicant. But it's not necessarily a toxicant. There's behavioral stuff in here, repelling, mitigating. It's all based on intent. So a pesticide product is one that is distributed or sold with a claim or implication that it can control a pest. contains an active ingredient that can be used to manufacture a pesticide, or is composed of one or more active ingredients that have no other significant commercial value other than being used as a pesticide. For example, if we make a synthetic analog of an insect aggregation pheromone, we put that in a trap, insects come to the trap, and we come and we count the number of insects in that trap and use that information to make some kind of decision, usually a decision to spray a pesticide or not. The use of that chemical in that trap is not regulated by FIFRA. There's no intent to control the pest. It's just giving you information. However, if you take that same chemical, same trap, and you sell it as a device that reduces or eliminates that pest, that trap is now regulated by FIFRA and must be registered as a pesticide. Keep in mind that registration is insanely costly. It is insanely time consuming, and it really should be. We are talking about keeping our food system safe, right? So this is meant to regulate really toxic stuff. And it should be a big barrier to prove that anything that's applied to your food is safe. Congress has made some changes to FIFRA along the way. This has been a law on the books for many, many years, and there's been some tweaks. Many of those tweaks are nudges that are trying to encourage the use of lower risk materials. Some of these products are called 25B materials. Many of these 25B products, or low risk products, are naturally derived botanical products, things that you might be familiar with in home remedies, but for use in commercial operations. The chemicals in these products are usually on the generally regarded as safe list, or GRAS materials. However, insect pheromones, they're kind of rare things, and we don't know a lot about these chemicals other than they're important in, behavioral mechanisms in kind of obscure insect groups. It's very difficult to find these chemicals on a list of GRAS materials just because they're not as highly studied as like limonene or chili pepper oil, things like that. Even when chemical ecologists develop an approach that only uses chemicals on the GRAS list, they still run into barriers. For example, there is a product that has been developed as a behavioral control for spotted wing Drosophila. This is an invasive fruit fly that lays its eggs into growing blueberries, raspberries, and other small fruit. So this product is placed in dispensers below that growing fruit, and they're using food-safe materials to fool those flies into laying their eggs in these like little gumball things instead of in the fruit. So because the people who developed this were with intention, including products that would only be on the GRAS list, the EPA actually deemed this product to be exempt from FIFRA and said, you don't have to register this at the national level. However, they still need to register this project in each individual state. And many states require additional information along with these registrations, as is their right. A lot of the times, if they don't have that EPA number to lean on and all the information that comes with an EPA registration, it makes it really difficult for them to make a decision. Most states just don't have the time for this. This is understandable. With all of these things, it really does come down to time, expertise, thoughtful deliberation. Many years ago, experts at the EPA found the time and the expertise to consider the potential of a technique called mating disruption. This is a very cool thing. So this approach is to take that synthetic moth sex pheromone, in this case, and you would fill an orchard with so much of this sex pheromone that male moths who typically use that pheromone to find females, they get confused. They're turning. They can't find a point source of females. If you can't find the females, less mating, less babies, fewer worms in your apples, literally, and a dramatic reduction in pesticide use. This was a wonderful story. EPA, the people who were working there at the time, saw the potential there, and they made a unique pathway for registration for mating disruption. This is a win-win for everybody. They just don't have the time and the resources to investigate these obscure use patterns anymore. But in the meantime, Us scientists will continue to study the behavior of these insects. We will continue to find solutions that actually fit into farmer practices, that actually fit into regulatory pathways. So, for example, we here in New Hampshire and in Maryland have been working on a behavioral control for a beetle pest called cucumber beetle. They eat cucumber plants. Well, they eat everybody in that family, like cucumber and its cousins, so pumpkins, squashes, gourds, melons, things like that, all the cucurbits. We're developing this feeding stimulant. We know that this beetle really likes these bitter cucurbitacins. We're making a feeding stimulant that can be mixed with a toxicant, so mixed with a product that's already registered for use on that crop, fits within the legal framework, and it makes both of those work a little bit better than if they were on their own. And you now have a bait that can be applied next to the plant or underneath or nearby rather than spraying that toxicant all over the plant. That sounds like a win-win. That fits, that's legal, and we're developing that with the help of growers and chemical ecologists. These are the things that are on my mind right now. We are working on this paper, so let me know if you want to know more about pesticides, more about pesticide regulation. Is this interesting? Do you want to know more about behavioral controls or how you can support this kind of research? So let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, become a member of the community. I want to know more from you.